On the news, as Muslims celebrate Eid al-Maulud, President Bola Tinubu calls on Nigerians to pray for the country and his administration. Zamfara State Governor alleges federal government in secret talks with bandits. And President Bola Tinubu urges drug law agencies in Africa to crush syndicates and substance abuse. Glad to have you join us on News Now. I am Mary Kanu. President Bola Tinubu has urged Muslims nationwide to pray for Nigeria, which he says is at an important juncture as his government takes all necessary measures to make the country secure and economically viable. Affirming that the light is certainly bright at the end of the tunnel, President Tinubu congratulated Muslims in Nigeria and beyond on this year's Eid al-Maulud celebration, charging them to live by the teachings of Prophet Muhammad. Also, political leaders in the country, including state governors and the Senate President Godswill Akpabio, have congratulated Muslims on the occasion of the celebration in their respective messages to the Muslim faithful on the occasion commemorating the birth of Prophet Muhammad. The leaders urged them to pray for peace and prosperity in the country. And the war against insecurity in Nigeria has taken a dramatic turn as the governor of Zamfara State, Dauda Lawal, has accused some agencies of the federal government of engaging in secret talks with bandits, tasking the federal government for clarification on the issue. Lawal said reports indicated that a delegation allegedly sent by some agencies of the federal government had been holding talks with bandit groups in Zamfara State without his knowledge. Lawal called for an urgent and comprehensive investigation by the federal government into the ongoing secret negotiations with bandits in the state. Meanwhile, reacting to this allegation, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, says no official representing the federal government has been involved in negotiations with any bandits or group of bandits, but said the government remained committed to exploring all available avenues for de-escalating tension and restoring peace to communities plagued by banditry. And the issue of insecurity in the northern part of Nigeria is worrisome and a sad metaphor. These are the words of the former Director, Department of State Services, Dennis Amakri, in an interview with TV360 Nigeria on the rising spate of insecurity in the country. Amakri says the bandits are allowed to do their free will due to the lackadaisical attitude of the federal government to the issue. Reacting to the claims of the Zamfara State Governor Dauda Lawal on the federal government being in talks with bandits in the state, he also said that he agrees with the governor as it will be impossible for him to make such claims loosely.
I totally agree with the governor, and of course the minister has come out to refute it, but I agree with the governor because I don't think the governor will just come out and start making statements, far-reaching statements like that, And then, of course, it is not hidden, should I say, it's an open secret about the presence of bandits in that area. How did they get there? What are they doing? Who brought them in? How long have they been there? How many times have they been negotiated with? And how many times have they reneged on those negotiations? These are questions that a new governor will be worried about, and a new governor will want to talk about it. But I think that the government should come together in one voice if they want to solve this problem of bandits in that area. Bandits are coming to the market, they attend weddings, and then you have Nigeria police present without arresting them, because if that is the case, then I think the police itself has a lot of investigations to carry out. Who are these policemen that were present? Who took them there? How come they did not arrest the bandits that everybody knows is a bandit? So everybody will, just looking at those kind of optics, will think that there is collusion or there is a compromise whereby the bandits are known.
In spite of efforts to stem the tide on illicit substance abuse in Africa, there has been a consistent rise in the use of psychoactive substances, particularly among adolescents and youths. To combat this rise, Vice President Kashim Shettima has urged heads of national drug law enforcement agencies in Africa to renew the fight against substance abuse and illicit drug trafficking in their respective countries. The Vice President, who spoke at the opening of the 31st meeting of the heads of national drug law enforcement agencies, warned that the continent would remain in chains till it breaks free from the shackles of the criminal enterprises. Our correspondent, Sidney Okafor, has more details in this next report.
Vice President Kashim Shettima arrived the venue of the 31st meeting of the heads of National Drug Law Enforcement Agencies, Africa, HOLAF, alongside his entourage as well as heads of drug law enforcement agencies to hold discussions on ways to tackle illicit drugs and substance use and trafficking ravaging Africa. A report by the National Center for Biotechnology Information, USA, shows that a total of 41.6% of persons in sub-Saharan Africa are reportedly consuming substance, with Central Africa having the highest rate at 55.5%. Speaking on this menace, Vice President Kashim Shettima said the continent will remain in chains till it breaks free from the shackles of criminal enterprises, of drug barons and syndicates of illicit drugs.
I appeal to you to see this conference as a beacon of hope and a catalyst for positive change across our continent. If we don't dismantle the criminal enterprises that threaten our future and build a brighter tomorrow for all Africans, will remain in chains in a diseased and immoral world, as will our children and our great-grandchildren.
At the meeting, Chairman of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Brigadier General Buba Mawa, said youth are prone to drug abuse and the majority of people being treated for drug disorders are under the age of 35.
What is worse, the availability of treatment and other services has not kept pace with these developments, and women in particular are suffering from treatment gaps. The world drug problem in all its forms and manifestations affects all of us.
Some stakeholders at the event praised the federal government for taking a brave move in the fight against illicit drugs in Africa in order to address the scourge, which is expected to rise to 40% in the next 7 years.
Next year, the Commission on Narcotic Drugs will hold a midterm review of all international drug policy commitments set forth in the 2019 Ministerial Declaration. The recommendations you put forward will inform the midterm review by bringing regional issues and priorities to the attention of the Commission.
The illicit drug economy fuels insecurity. Drug use disorders are negatively impacting public health and eroding nations' overall well-being.
At the end of the meeting, African leaders and relevant stakeholders agreed to urgently develop and implement workable prevention and treatment strategies to curb this rising public health threat from consuming African youths. Sidney Okafor, TV 360, Lagos.
The House of Representatives has summoned the Nigeria Copyright Commission to develop means to protect the music rights of late singer Ilerioluwa Aloba, also known as Mohbad. This resolution was a sequel to a motion of urgent public importance moved by Babajimi Benson, who added that the lawmakers need to monitor the ongoing investigation in order to protect the legacy of a late music star. More details in this next report.
Resuming from its annual recess to continue the first legislative year of the 10th Assembly, members of the House of Representatives get down to business of the day, with reviewing reports left unattended during its 8-week break. One of the matters raised during plenary was the death of 27-year-old singer Ilerioluwa Aloba, popularly known as Mohbad, whose death necessitated an ongoing investigation. A minute's silence was observed by the House in Mubarak's honor after the motion was unanimously adopted when Speaker Tajuddin Abbas put it to vote. Moving the motion, Member of the House Babajimi Benson said lawmakers need to monitor the ongoing investigation in order to protect the legacy of the late music star.
Collaborate with stakeholders including record labels, artists, legal experts and industry associations to develop and implement industry-wide guidelines that ensure fair treatment, transparent contractual agreements and proper compensation for artists. Reviewing existing copyright and contract laws in Nigeria, identifying gaps or areas in need of reform.
The lawmaker also said there is a need for urgent action to save other music artists in Nigeria from predatory record labels.
The House is cognizant that the Nigerian music industry lacks substantial institutional funding, pushing many artists into unscrupulous contracts with record labels. Addressing this issue is vital for the industry's growth and sustainability. The House is also cognizant that the Nigerian Copyright Commission functions encompass copyright registration, law enforcement, education, royalty management, international collaboration, legal advocacy, policy development. Hence, they should be protecting copyright and promoting artists' interests in Nigeria.
Consequently, the House resolved that the Nigeria Copyright Commission must put measures in place immediately to protect the rights of late Mohbad songs and lyrics, addressing copyright infringement, and ensuring the proper management of his musical asset while securing his son's benefit from his musical legacy. Tamilore Akinkolea, TV360 Lagos.
And ginger farmers in Nigeria's northwest Kaduna state are struggling to cope with a strange ginger disease outbreak which is wiping off their farms and destroying their plants. The farmers say they have never witnessed anything like it, with virtually every ginger field in the southern part of the state affected. Ginger is the major cash crop in the area, but the disease outbreak will seriously impact production of the crop this year and possibly beyond. Scientists say they are still investigating the cause of the disease outbreak. TV360's special correspondent Deji Badamasi has more in this next report.
Inspecting his ruined ginger farm. Elisha Handan is one of the big ginger farmers in the Sarbon Serki area of Jaba local government area of Kaduna State in northwest Nigeria. Virtually all the ginger in his 4-hectare land here have been hit by a strange disease which is causing the leaves of the ginger plant to turn brown, dry up and then die.
Early April, the ginger was doing well, germinated well, doing well. When I applied the first fertilizer or the first application of fertilizer, the ginger grew very effectively and very well. Suddenly, I started to spot out some symptoms of disease. I thought that it's a normal, maybe shortage of rain. I never knew there's a menace. Before I know, the whole farm was affected. And not only this farm, but all of my farms, out of about 4, all of them were affected.
It's the same story for Joseph Jatu, another ginger farmer in Jama'a local government area of the state. His entire ginger farm has caught the same disease, sparing only the vegetable he planted within the farm.
We are suffering a lot of loss, especially in this particular part of the world whereby we produce a lot of ginger. That is the mainstay of our economy, is now nowhere to be found. That the sustainable aspect of it is ruined by this infection. You can see we have abandoned this farm. We are not within it anymore. You can see the grass because we are discouraged.
Nigeria ranks among the largest producers of ginger in the world, and southern Kaduna accounts for the bulk of Nigeria's fresh ginger production. Almost every farmer in the region of the country grows ginger on a commercial scale. The current ginger disease will therefore seriously impact the local economy of the area, as this year's harvest is already affected.
We are pleading for an intervention. If there is any preventive method
or measure that the government will take, please, they should intervene.
At the Institute for Agricultural Research in the state, scientists are hard at work trying to understand the disease and come up with a solution. But there's no definitive breakthrough.
Actually, the organisms we are suspecting, like most fungi, when the environment is moist, there is high relative humidity, low temperature, the organisms are favored. And we are suspecting there are multiple fungi, as I showed you here. So, but the specific one was still on. So that is what we are doing. From the interview and from what we saw, we gave them some suggestions on what to do to remedy the rhizomes that are in the soil. And possibly we are planning, or if we get opportunity, of course we have to train them or explain to them what measures should take against the next season.
Most diseases of agricultural crops are best managed culturally by rotating the crops on the fields. If you grow one crop on a particular field year in, year out, there is a build-up of the disease inoculum that will get to a level that it explodes. In other words, it causes a severe damage on the crop. So the Kaduna State government is making arrangements to sensitize or train the farmers on how to manage their fields.
As they wait for a definitive pronouncement from the Institute for Agricultural Research, the farmers are now getting some helpful information on the likely cause of the disease. One of the big corporate farmers in the area has been holding special sessions like this one to further train and enlighten the farmers of best farming practices to prevent the disease.
Now, when we went around the farm, we discovered that because some farmers don't have so much land, some of them even grow ginger year in, year out. Under good recommendation, you don't grow ginger like that. And so if you are growing it year in, year out, you are going to aggravate the development of those diseases. And that is why it has happened to this level.
So what we would have to do, the reality, is to, of course, re-sensitize the farmers on the inputs they use. Now that this has been activated, next year, it will still happen again. The best solution to this, the truth, if wishes were horses, is to abandon that land for 2-3 years. That is the best. 2-3 years, don't do anything on that land. That would be the best. Then come back in the 4th year and do it.
The farmers are hoping that what they learned from this seminar, in addition to advice from the Institute for Agricultural Research, will help them overcome their current challenge. Deji Badimasi, TV 360, Lagos.
We'll take a break here, but still to come, Nigeria loses bid as Morocco, East African nations win 2027 African hosting rights. Details of the story and more when we return. Stay with us. Thank you for staying. Here's a recap of our top stories. President Bola Tinubu has urged Muslims nationwide to pray for Nigeria, which he says is at an important juncture as his government takes all necessary measures to make the country secure. Also, political leaders in the country, including state governors and the Senate President Godswill Akpabio, have congratulated Muslims on the occasion of the Eid al-Maulud celebration. We also told you that the war against insecurity in Nigeria has taken a dramatic turn as the governor of Zamfara State, Dauda Lawal, has accused some agencies of the federal government of engaging in secret talks with bandits. Lawal called for an urgent and comprehensive investigation by the federal government into the ongoing secret negotiations with bandits in the state. Reacting to the allegations, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, says no official representing the federal government has been involved in negotiations with any bandits or group of bandits. Well, in case you missed any of the news bulletin or for more updates, you can catch us on Limex World TV or log into our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria, or download our mobile app on Google Play Store and Huawei App Gallery. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online. Welcome back. Up next is Business News with Simisola Adigun. Simisola, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mary. Welcome to Business News. Building professionals across the world have called for a more strengthening association to ensure that its standards are not eroded and quacks are driven out. The submission was made at the unveiling of the Knight Frank Academy Learning Hub in Lagos. The Chief Executive Officer of the Academy, Frank Okuson, urged graduates of the Facility Management to develop their skills, adding that the theoretical knowledge they gained has to be supported by greater practical knowledge and experience.
The onus lies on you. You need to continue to retrain yourself. Otherwise, you'll be fizzled out with the passage of time. So all we need to do here at this learning center is the crop of people that are going out or passing out of this center are well established with core value, with standard best of practice, so that with their counterparts outside this country, they can be at the same level.
The gap in the profession, and that's why we're giving back to the profession back. There's been a lot of below the learning gap. The first graduate into the profession, and they don't have what it takes to fit into the profession properly well, and we have to retrain them and pull them into a great skill for them to be able to get it. All the building industry in the academy, whether building construction, quantity surveyors, civil engineering, electrical, not just real estate surveyors alone. We're incorporating the building industry into it. We want to build them as one stick, not real estate alone. We want to train and retrain the building industry.
I believe it's an opportunity for us young graduates to grow, not just professionally, but also to instill core values that will be necessary to be able to excel in organizations and stand out.
That's all in business for today. Back to you, Mary, for the rest of the news.
Many thanks, Simisola. Now on the global scene, the United Kingdom's first official consumption room for illegal drugs, including heroin and cocaine, has been approved by authorities in Glasgow. The pilot scheme will be based at a health centre in the east end of Glasgow and will see users take their own drugs under the supervision of trained health professionals. The facility is backed by the Scottish Government as a way to tackle the country's drug deaths crisis. The Glasgow City Integration Joint Board approved the pilot facility on Wednesday, bringing an end to years of political to and fro over its legality between the devolved Scottish and central UK governments. Well, up next is Entertainment Report.
It's been 3 weeks since the death of Nigerian street sensation Ilerioluwa Oladimeji Aloba, widely known as Mohbad, and the buzz is yet to die down. On the contrary, Mohbad's songs have enjoyed a massive boost on streaming platforms across the country. In the latest issue of Turntable Weekly Top 100 Nigerian chart, the late musician recorded a remarkable 6 entries in the top 10. Since his passing, Mohbad's songs have hit new heights, with his debut EP Light released in 2020 and his sophomore EP Blessed released in 2023 enjoying a resurgence on streaming platforms. As investigations over the singer's death continue, his former boss and record label owner Azeez Fashola, popularly known as Naira Marley, alleged to be instrumental in his death, has put out a statement exonerating himself and promised to return to Nigeria to support investigations. The Nigerian comedy industry has celebrated the maiden edition of the Nigerian Comedy Awards at the Eko Conference Center, Victoria Island, Lagos State. The event, which was created to honor outstanding performers and projects in the comedy industry, had some of the biggest comedy stars like Lai Wasabi, Taoma, and Brother Shaggy recognized for their talents. The event, hosted by TV personality Bukumi Adeaga Ilori, popularly known as Kiki, saw Instagram sensation Lai Wasabi win the Revelation Comedian of the Year with a sum of 1 million naira, while prominent actors and actresses such as Mercy Johnson and Brother Shaggy went home with several awards. And that's all on the entertainment segment of News Now. Okpayemi Owosheni, TV360 News.
In sports, Nigeria has lost the joint bid with the Benin Republic to host the African Cup of Nations in 2027 as Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania are named joint hosts of the 2027 tournament. This comes after the Minister of Sports Development, John Eno, arrived in Egypt on Tuesday with representatives of the Nigeria Football Federation to bid to host AFCON in 2027. Morocco were awarded the hosting of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations finals, replacing Guinea, who was stripped of the right to host the tournament last year. It is only the second time that Morocco will host Africa's most popular sporting event, almost 4 decades after the previous time in 1988. The joint East African bid for 2027 returns the finals to the region for the first time since 1976.
I think it was an ill-prepared bid. We just woke up suddenly and realized that we have to bid for the 2027 bid. I mean, the Africa Cup of Nations, which I think that one itself makes the bid dead on arrival. It was not a well-coordinated bid. And besides, you ask yourself, what is the economic reason or what is the compelling reason why we should bid for the Africa Cup of Nations? When even internally our football is in shambles, we've not presented ourselves as good organizers, because if you look at even our domestic league, in the past 20-30 years, it has never kicked off on schedule. It's always one postponement or the other. So, but if you now compare us here now with, say, Morocco that won the bid for 2025, you see the organizational structure. We just know that we need to go and learn how to administer football in the country. And if we cannot administer football in the country, within ourselves, how can the continent entrust the flagship of football competition into our hands? Our facilities are not in shape. Only one stadium in Nigeria passed the FIFA CAF test, and that's the Uyo Stadium. And you cannot bid. We just promises and say, okay, we are going to put the Abuja Stadium back in shape.
Well, that was sports analyst Kunle Sholaja speaking on Nigeria losing the bid to host the 2027 AFCON. Well, that's all the news now. I am Mary Kanu. Thank you for watching.